Alrighty. Hello, welcome back, everyone. This is the Fuck Calories podcast. I'm Dr. Soleil, and that is Dr. Sarah. And based on last time, we ended up talking about the importance, I think, of protein, right, in our diet. And some of the questions that we've gotten since then would be if I cannot yet hit, right, my minimum goal, whether that's 100 grams of protein or if I'm trying to really build my strength or put on some muscle mass, 150, what else can I do? So we're going to start off today talking about protein supplements. And the most common one that is found on the market is going to be a protein powder, right?
Mhm.
The protein powders are all different types. So we're going to talk about the different maybe categories of protein powders. Most commonly on the market, you're going to find, again, animal-based source protein powders versus plant-based. And that tends to be for the different types of people based on what they're already eating, right? And so if you're vegan or vegetarian, you're probably going to look for a plant-based protein. That's going to be more soy, hemp, oat. There's pea protein, right? All sorts of different proteins. I will tell you that the plant proteins are not as bioavailable as the animal-based proteins. That means that when you take them in, you drink them, you take in the protein powders, your stomach has a much harder time of actually absorbing those nutrients. And so you're not actually getting as much of the protein out of that supplement than you would compared to animal-based proteins. And animal-based proteins on the market are going to be the majority on the shelf are going to be whey based, right? And so that's going to be dairy, which is the lactose and casein proteins in there. You can find egg-based proteins. My favorite is a beef isolate protein, etc. But from those kind of protein powders is really what you can start using to supplement and make our minimum goals, right, for protein intake. Dr. Sarah, do you
Awesome.
use any protein powders currently? Have you in the past? What are your faves?
Yeah, I do. There's a few different ones. So I guess we should start out. This is a disclaimer. Neither of us are sponsored by any products.
Right.
The ones we were
But
talking about are just ones that we actually have tried and that we actually have experience with. And try them if you like them. I'll
mhm,
talk about the ones that I like and don't like and why. And our audience members should try them, but don't hold us to it if you don't like, if you don't have the same experience, because we're not getting paid or anything like that. This is just how we feel. So I do currently in my life, I'm using two different ones, and I am I am really, really picky about taste and texture. Probably more than most people. I don't know. And lots of protein drinks and stuff that people have, I just cannot tolerate. Um, so the ones that are in my life currently that I'm using is number one, I use the chocolate Fairlife. They have gotten really popular recently, and sometimes have been so popular, they've been hard to find, but I
mhm,
think the manufacturer's catching up. It is basically an ultra filtered milk. So they take milk and they filter out some of the sugar and some of the fat that's in the milk to kind of super concentrate the protein. And
mhm,
so it's straight milk. You're going to get milk protein. So if anyone is lactose intolerant, things like that, they're not going to do well on it.
right.
I really love it because it tastes like my childhood. It tastes like chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Um, so I really like that. And I like that it's a high protein in a smaller volume. Some of the other ones that we'll talk about, they may have the same or equivalent grams of protein, but it's in a larger volume. So you're drinking a larger drink to get the same
Mhm,
amount out, and I don't like that.
yeah.
Um, the other one that I use, and I am very particular about the actual flavor, is I use the chocolate peanut butter mix of the muscle milk. And
Yes.
I have to like clarify this or put a disclaimer out there. I do not like the muscle milk that is the regular chocolate. I do not like the muscle milk that is vanilla or any other flavor. I think they taste weird. The chocolate peanut butter one though is delicious, and it does not taste like chocolate peanut butter. It tastes like a mocha. Like it has this coffee flavor. I can't taste the peanut butter, and I love peanut butter,
Yeah.
but it tastes like a mocha, which is weird. But anyway,
Yeah.
I can tolerate it and I can drink it. And so that's the other one that I'm drinking right now.
Oh, I'm gonna have to try that one. So
Yeah.
yeah, because I hear you with the taste profiles, and I'm
Yeah.
also trying to limit my sugar intake. And so a lot of these
Yeah.
protein powders,
Are really high in sugar to
right,
make
can
it
be
taste better.
absolutely high in carbs and
Yeah.
sugar. And then if they're not, you're looking for artificial sweeteners, right? And
Right,
artificial, kind of what else are we sweetening this
right,
with, right? Because
right,
protein powder in and of itself does not taste amazing, right?
right. And a lot
So
of them even they can be pretty highly caloric, even even not including the protein that is in there. So like for
right.
example, the muscle milk and the Fairlife, one has 30 grams of protein, one has 40 grams of proteins, but the calorie difference is almost double, even though it's only
Oh,
25%. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I really like the Fairlifes. I will drink the muscle milk too, but it's, you have to be careful because it's a higher punch. Um, anyway,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
probably
So
got some artificial sugars in it. Honestly, I don't know, but it probably does.
yeah. So I'm definitely looking for, yeah, what kind of artificial sweeteners does it
Mhm.
have? Because some of them I already know, like, aren't my favorite. Like, I just don't
Yeah.
like the taste of some of them.
Yeah.
I'll tell
That's
you
how
that
I feel
one of
about
my
Premier Protein. And
oh,
I
is
know
that
a lot of people love Premier Protein, but I don't like it. So,
yep. Yep. It's because, yeah, all of our taste buds are kind of different. And so it's
yeah,
going to take a little bit of trial and error, finding out what you like, what flavor you like. Does this
yeah,
mix well with I'm trying to mix it with? Because that's another
right,
thing, right? So
right.
I tried my favorite protein powder right now is actually a beef isolate. Um and that just works better for my GI system, right? Because I was trying all the whey and stuff. And even though I can have dairy, like the whey was creating a lot of digestive issues and I was bloating and
Mhm.
I was cramping. I was like, this just, why would I continue this? This
Yeah.
just doesn't feel
Well,
good.
and whey for so many people is so pro-inflammatory to begin with. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes. Even if you're not like, if
Mhm.
even if you feel like, oh, I have cheese all the time, I can totally
Right,
handle
right.
this,
And
right?
then
All of a
sometimes
sudden, the
you
whey
won't,
protein.
right. You may not do well.
Yeah. So yeah, so since I found a beef isolate, that was fantastic. I've tried a couple and some don't mix as well, which is totally another negative factor because if
Yeah.
you're not mixing well and you're still
Yeah.
clumpy and gross, like
Yeah.
no way am I eating you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or drinking that.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge component. That leads me almost a little bit to using my collagen powder. So
Mhm.
collagen is a different type of protein supplement. It is not a complete protein. And what I mean by that is when we need our protein in our foods, right? We have complete and incomplete. There are several types of amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. And some supplements are considered complete because they have all of them.
Mhm.
Some of them are incomplete because they only have some of them, but not all of them, right? So the collagen powders are incomplete, so they don't have the entire profile. The plant-based proteins are also incomplete. They don't have the entire profile. You're going to get all of them only in the animal-based proteins. So that's another reason to, hey, if I can eat my proteins, I'm getting a complete source. If I can drink a animal-based protein powder, I'm getting a little bit more bang for my buck, maybe. But the mixability, the collagen that I love is Vital Proteins, and they are from um basically pasture raised cows, and it's
Mhm.
all kind of like the organic non-GMO, really clean. There's nothing else in there, but there's nothing that's better than mixability from that Vital Proteins collagen.
That's awesome.
Here's a little caveat is I learned that because it's protein, it can denature or
Mhm.
unwind if it's
Yeah.
heated too much. So
Yeah.
I tell all of my patients, and I do this myself, if you're going to mix it into your coffee, especially in the
Yep.
morning, make your coffee and then wait. Fix it up, doctor it like you normally would. Once it's drinkable, that's when I add the collagen powder or my protein powder into it. And so it's still going to dissolve well, but it's not too hot that it
Yeah.
denatures or unwinds. And so if it
That is
unwinds, now you're like screwed, right? Because
yeah,
you've taken all of
exactly.
that for nothing.
That is exactly what I was going to say about the muscle egg. So
Oh,
a protein brand that I used to use, and it's not that I don't use it now, it's just that it's a little bit inconvenient. I had the exact same issue. So for people who cannot tolerate, who are okay with animal based products, but who cannot tolerate anything that's whey related, um, or dairy related, um, muscle egg is basically they take egg whites and they are dehydrated and they do something else with them. I can't remember, but basically it's like just pure egg protein.
hmm
Um, and it is, I used to like put it in oatmeal and stuff like that. And it's amazing because it doesn't change the like it has zero flavor whatsoever, which is
Mhm.
really lovely because you can mix it in other stuff. The problem, the only thing is that if you use it when it's heated, it stops being like a lovely protein powder and kind of like gelatinizes, like, because it's
Mhm.
egg, like
Yep.
it's super weird, and it gets really gross. And if you know that and you don't do that, it's fine. You cannot taste it, like there's no texture change, like like it completely dissolves and like is not there unless it's heated, and then it
Yep.
gets really gross.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh, this is definitely here."
Yes.
So I really like that if I'm eating a meal that is conducive to that, it's really, really, it's a wonderful option. But it is very rare that I am having something that it would go with, because otherwise, unless I'm having like a meal like that, and I don't really like cold shit, like I don't eat cereal and stuff like that. So like it's very rare that I'm having something that's not heated, or if it's just a drink, which I can do, but I don't really, other than those, like, I don't drink a lot of, like, protein, like, I don't drink a lot of stuff, like, I don't,
Yep.
and you can't really put the egg powder in, like, a, like, you can't just put it straight in water, you know?
Right.
Like, you need it because it doesn't have any flavor and it's kinda weird. So, that's a drawback to that. While we're talking about, like, protein blends, were you done on the collagen, or you had some more to say about that?
No, no. Well,
Yeah. So, one that I have used that, so, obviously we think that our audience should not be vegan and should incorporate animal sources. However, if you are insistent on only being plant-based and you understand that plant-based is going to be less bioavailable and you're going to have to like double your protein volume, there is a protein drink that I have tried and I actually do like. And what they have tried to do is called kachava. They have tried to blend multiple different protein sources that are all plant-based. I think they have like pea protein, they have a aramanth, a quinoa in it, and there's several different things, but they basically take several different protein sources to try to increase the um, your complete protein, like to increase the different sources, since you're going to get an incomplete source with each one of them. They try to increase them. It also includes some adaptogens. It also includes antioxidants. It also includes some flaxseed, and so you're getting some essential fats and some omega 3s with that. And so that's a, if you're gonna do plant based, it's one that's not bad. And I actually like the taste, and I hardly like the taste of any of them. So that's kind of maybe one to try out.
yeah. Um, the I think the hardest message is you got to find one that works for you, right? And
Yeah,
your lifestyle. And what am I trying to mix it with, right? And do I have
exactly.
something flavored I mix this to, or do I want something that easily goes in water? Do I want something that I can lug to the gym with me and drink after it, right? There's so many different options out there, but that's why there's so many different products.
Yep.
The collagen has really, I think, made a big uptick in the market recently, and I think that has to do with the maybe the beauty industry. So we're seeing a
Hmm.
lot more people using collagen and trying to kind of reverse this aging process that we see mostly in our skin as we age, but I mean mostly in the face. And that is because as we age, we make less collagen, and collagen is a connective tissue, right? And it helps us kind of create this elasticity. And so if something were to stretch, it can go back to the way
Hmm.
it is. And when that stops happening, or we stop having proper wound repair, or we start developing dark or deep wrinkles or things like that, collagen can come in and try and rebuild that foundation from the inside out. Some caveats, right, is that making sure that you're getting the proper types of collagen. There's a couple different types. The most common is type 1, right? And that's going to help with the skin. But my collagen, I like to make sure that there's at least a couple of different types, because most of the time I'm using it for whole body health as well as helping to increase some of my incomplete proteins. But making sure if you're using it for anti-aging or wound repair or other things, that you're taking it with vitamin C, because vitamin C and
Yeah.
collagen work really well together to help utilize that. So in case you are thinking to yourself, oh, is this the same collagen that's in, my morning kind of cream or something, it's similar but different, right? We're not
Mhm.
talking topical. You can still use topical, but we're talking to ingest it from the inside out. So I'd also recommend doing that as well if you're trying to do anti-aging or skin repair or, whatever.
Absolutely. Well, on the topic of anti-aging, this is less cosmetic, but is something that I think we should all be concerned about with our patients. Is let's talk about creatine.
Mm,
Um, we can talk about longevity and bone health and muscle mass, but there's been a lot of recent evidence about dementia and brain health. So maybe let's back up a little bit and kind of talk about what creatine is and what it does. So in our body, how we first discovered the reason why it got popular in like bro science and with bodybuilders and stuff is that creatine. So in your muscles, in order for you to have a muscle contraction, your body and your muscle fibers actually shuttle ATP back and forth, and specifically they convert ATP to ADP, meaning um, with three phosphate groups versus two phosphate groups.
mhm,
And so what creatine does is it actually acts as like a shuttle to shuttle that extra phosphate group around and back and forth. And so that was first discovered. And so after that, bodybuilders and power lifters and things like that noticed that when they would supplement with creatine, they were stronger. They could get higher lifts and they could get their muscle mass and their strength increased. And so because of that, that was one of the reasons why it got really popular in studies. And so we started looking at, well, what exactly is it doing? How exactly does it work? And even though it was first studied in this one population, it has actually been shown to be really beneficial with almost no risk, even at super, super high doses. And, you can chime in here if you want on those, but it's been shown to actually be really helpful for our long-term bone health, our long-term lean muscle mass, as well as our cognitive function. So if you are someone who is sleep deprived or has traumatic brain injury, all of those things have been shown that there's a decrease in brain creatine in those pathologic states, and that supplementing with creatine can actually help.
yes.
And that's in addition to all of the excellent benefits that it has for lean muscle mass. And so for any of our audience members who are trying to change the shape of their body and worried about their body composition, creatine is super, super, super helpful to help building your muscles, maintaining lean what am I trying to say? Lean body mass, helping your brain. I mean, it's just fantastic.
It is, absolutely. So I know back in the day, we would probably just recommend 5 grams of creatine about 30 minutes before you'd work out. And that was really helping decrease muscle fatigue, right? So you're lasting
Yep.
longer in the gym so you can hit kind of your goals, et
Get
cetera.
stronger. Yep.
And yeah, and get stronger, et cetera. Which is also, I think, at higher doses, they were scared that it was going to cause issues with kidneys, right? Stuff like that. Now, recent studies or more recent studies are showing that you can take 5 times that amount
Yeah.
for greater than 2 years. And we're talking 25 grams every single day
Yeah.
for over 2 years and have absolutely no side effects.
Yep.
Now, caveat, some of the patients had to figure out that, oh, I need to take maybe 5 grams 5 times a day to hit that 25 as opposed to
Yeah.
25 grams all at once, right?
Because if you
Because,
take it all at once, what happens?
yes, upset stomach. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can be really hard to digest and really it's just a lot. And so
All
then
of
they
a
said,
sudden.
oh, I'm just going to take, they were taking it in about 8 ounces of water. And so
Yeah.
they were taking it first thing in the morning and then a couple of hours later, and then a couple of hours later after that. And then they would kind of, if I'm going to go to practice or if I'm going to go to the
Right.
gym or if I'm going to study, I'm going to take it then.
Right.
They
And I
also
mean, let's think
noticed,
about that. If we took 30 grams of sugar, of magnesium, I mean, any of those things, we're going to get upset stomach. So it's
yes,
not because creatine is inherently bad or anything like that. It just means you got to space it out like everything.
absolutely. Because if I take too much vitamin C all at the same time, you
Exactly.
can't absorb all of it.
Exactly.
It's going to cause issues, right?
Exactly.
Um, the interesting things I was finding is not only the muscle components, right, that we have seen for much longer, is that these brain components, right?
Yeah.
People were
Yeah.
having less brain fog, less confusion. They were able to pay attention. They were scoring higher on tests. They were doing better. And then they
Yeah.
said, well, these are healthy patients and they're still doing great, even
Right.
better.
Right.
Would this still apply to our patients with Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive impairment,
Right.
Parkinson's, right?
Right.
All sorts. So I think it's showing not only is it improving, right, in that brain synapses and the creatine levels in the brain as well, but they I think the more research we have into it, and if they could even start pre-treating, right, with a
Mhm.
supplement before we start having those traumatic brain injuries or
Right.
concussion or something, would
Right.
it even improve the likelihood that you get through that event with better, right, cognitive function?
Totally. And I've even read some studies recently that are talking about how women related to our menstrual cycles and or
Mm.
pregnancy and or when you go through perimenopause have decreased reserves from in creatine than, you know, women who are not on their period and women who are not going through these
Yes.
changes. And
Mhm.
those women who are not going through these changes have even less creatine reserves than men. So if you are in the perimenopausal period and you're having brain fog and you're like, what is going on with my hormones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Yes.
maybe if you supplement with creatinine, it might help.
Mhm. That
Help
totally
clear some
makes
of that
sense.
brain fog. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, one of the other things that we used to be concerned about before we knew better is that we were worried about our kidneys when you would
Mhm,
take
mhm,
creatine. And so, I kind of wanted to touch briefly on that. We know that when you take creatine, you can have an increase in your creatinine, in your
mhm.
blood creatinine, which is a blood test that is a pseudo marker for your renal function. And by renal function, I mean how well your kidneys are working. And so there was a concern like, ooh, is this harming the kidneys?
Mhm,
And we found out actually, no, it is not. It's just that the way when you metabolize it, um, your serum creatinine can be increased by many different factors that have nothing to do with any internal harm. Like that doesn't mean that your kidneys are facing any internal harm. So if you are certain races, if you have a high lean body mass, like if you have a high muscle mass, all of
mhm.
those things are going to cause your creatinine to be higher, but it does not mean that your kidney function is different. And
Right.
so a test that we are now using, so creatinine is still way, 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 way cheaper.
Mhm,
And so every doctor and like anytime you get a panel of electrolytes, they toss on a serum creatinine. You don't even have to ask for it. It just comes on that electrolyte panel because it is so cheap to do. But if you actually want to know your renal function without all of these other red herrings and all this other um, you know, cluttered stuff that doesn't
mhm,
actually represent your renal function, ask your doc for a cystatin C, which is a similar test to a serum creatinine. It has to be ordered separately, so that's the only thing. It's not as expensive as it used to be. That's the reason why we didn't used to get it, but now it's significantly cheaper. It's almost the same price, but you still have to order it separately. So that's one of the challenging things why most people don't do it. So if your serum creatinine is elevated, just get a cystatin C, and that will tell you actually if there's any renal problems, or is this just a confounding thing, and actually your kidneys are totally fine.
right. 'Cause anything as simple as dehydration
Mhm. Will
will
change your
correct.
creatinine, but it
Yes,
won't change your cystatin C, which is
right,
clearly shows you that actually everything's fine.
exactly. And
So
it
if
it takes away kind of the confusion and
yeah,
scary aspect of getting
yes,
abnormal test results back, right? And so it
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
And a lot of us still have to undo the damage that was put out there by the wrong information, and so we talk about
Mhm,
this a lot, right, of like, "Hey,
mhm,
it's not as they said it was.
mhm.
This has now been proven that it's fine and you'll be
Yeah,
healthy," and right, and so there's a
yeah,
lot of misunderstanding
trust.
and I don't wanna go as far as misinformation because the
Yeah,
information we thought was good at the time,
yeah,
but we have
yeah,
now, know that it's not, so
yeah, absolutely.
but alrighty, so today was all about protein. Where am I getting my protein from? Am I getting enough? I'm still going to go back and say at least 100 grams of protein a day, but where you're getting it
Preach.
from is completely up to you.
Matters.
Yeah, just know your sources and know, pay attention to your body. Are you digesting them well? Is it causing you problems? Am I not getting enough? Do I need to supplement? There's a whole host of supplements on the market. Which one's best for me? Which one
And
mixes
if
into
you are
my
doing plant-based, you may need to double the amounts to make sure you're getting enough that's actually absorbed.
Right, absolutely. So, just something other, we wanted to put out there, something to think about, but it's for your health and we hope you continue to do well, and we'll see you guys next time.